in from that outside to fracture that. And of course, the average American saw for the first time how insular it was, because the minute an outsider was there, the banks hated him, the left hated him, the media hated him, the Republican establishment hated him, the Department of Justice hated him. Every single person hated this guy. And as I've said, that's why he's my guy. Now, why libertarians don't seem to understand that, it still perplexes me. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with every one of his positions.
So you're not perplexed.
You don't have to agree with his positions. It's the fact that he's exposing the system, the deep state, 10,000 times more than the Libertarian Party has done in its whole existence. And I don't know why he doesn't get credit from libertarians.
Can I ask you a question about
exposing the
deep
system?
All right, go, James. Get some.
Exposing the deep state, is that why he proposed a military budget that's 5% more than the Pentagon wanted? Is that how you stick it to the deep state? Or is it by a national day of mourning for Herbert Walker Bush? I mean, seriously, how would an outside observer know that he's not a girlfriend of the deep state?
Well, the first point is that the average American now, when you talk about a deep state, they know what you're talking about. Just 4 years ago, they didn't even understand.
No, explain to me the evidence. Just say I landed on Earth for the first time and I'm checking it out, and you said, yeah, look, he's not with the deep state. What am I looking at that shows me that's true? Is it $4.75 trillion federal budget? Is that going to stick it to him? Where are we at? A larger military budget than even the military wants? Is that not what the deep
and he's
state
screaming
wants?
for the Federal Reserve to keep interest rates low. He's not even challenging the fact of the Federal Reserve or legal tender laws or foreign any. And then there's more. I'm waiting. I get a lot of pleasure in the fact that he's pissing off the right people and everybody now knows it's all BS. But to think that he's the savior, he's just a side effect. An entertaining side effect, and anything that of substance that he hasn't done. He's made it worse.
He's made what worse, Ernie?
The deficit.
4.75 trillion.
The budget, that's the biggest thing that's hanging over us. He's just kicking the can down the road until this finally falls, and then he'll come in, the fascist, solution of we got in the streets martial law of you're not allowed and we're going to something. I mean, I don't see him taking a hands-off approach when things start going bad.
Okay. Okay, so this is all about the budget for you, all right? Is that what you guys are saying? It's about the budget.
It's about them putting a 45 to my forehead and saying, fork it over. That's what it's about.
I just want to be clear. Because everyone I talk to, it's like I feel like just like it was in 2015 into 16, with people not understanding how and why Donald Trump was going to win. And everyone gave me all the same flack. Like, I don't understand. People don't see this. You guys are all picking your pet. Now, I hate to call it a pet issue because the budget, as a libertarian myself, is a huge problem. But the thing is, that's a policy issue. And I can defend or at least explain why he's doing it. But on the other hand, you talk to liberals, and they all of a sudden, the last week, it's like they got their marching orders, and now it's like they don't want to hear about the deep state being, about a silent coup that almost occurred with the deep state. That somehow's already everyone's back rear view mirror already. Now they're talking about the environment. It's all about the spotted owl, and okay, whatever's going on in Washington doesn't matter because he's not doing enough for the environment. And if we don't have a world and oxygen to breathe, the budget doesn't matter. So I hear this from the same on the other side. People just kind of digging down in their one issue, whether it's abortion, the environment, the budget, whether he bombed
policy, gun control, the federal budget, the military, domestic spying, the war on drugs.
There is no larger issue. All these ones that James just did is how the state sees me. It's a freedom thing. And that's why Elmer Smith called the gun issue the Vulcan mind meld into, the beast. It's like it tells you how they feel about you as an individual. And Trump is not defending on the gun issue. He doesn't see it as a right, an unalienable right to defend myself with what he doesn't see that. It's a politic thing. And he'll trade, Second Second Amendment rights, First Amendment rights, this right, that right, you know, when it suits them. And I'm going, you know, so it's not about not, you know, me being in charge of me. It's not about me being the sovereign. It's not about the government working for me. This is where James Woods in his tweet really slapped AOC around, because she's like, yeah, well, get over it, bitches. We're in Congress now and we're in charge. And if you want, you get up here. And he goes, whoa, you work for us, bitch. You know, it's this attitude. And I'm going, they don't have it. They don't care. And I don't care if they care or not. I'm outside. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You know, any tax filling out I do is by extortion. That's because they got a gun to my head. And there's no Muslim, there's no immigrant, there's nobody there saying, give me your money, we got it. And they go, see, this one guy killed this person, and this guy came over and robbed, and so I'm going, piddly, teeny tiny stuff of what this wholesale slaughter on my future that this government is doing, and Trump is on which side? I get no, like James says, there's no evidence that he's going to free me or my grandchildren. It's not even on the table. It's just who's in charge of it.
Ernie, you know, I keep seeing this. I'm not to be going to sound like I'm being snobby with this, but I see this as just a larger issue. I mean, I look at him as like, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's like a divorced couples therapist. You know, I mean, you've got these two people arguing the hell. I mean, they're about to kill each other. The man and woman, right? And you need like the cops or judge or a counselor, let's say, to forget the cops. I know you guys would love that one. But imagine a counselor that comes in and he's trying to find some meeting of the minds. But each side is so angry, and they're sitting there doubling down, saying, if you don't do it this way, then I'm going to walk and I'm going to sue and I'm going to do this and that. I mean, do you guys even forget that we had the Senate make the nuclear option right before Hillary supposedly got in?
Yeah, see, and I'm the children going, screw all y'all, and I'm over here.
Setting this thing up. They're allowing anybody in with no border rules. None of the rules applied. You've got the IRS and all these groups attacking conservative groups. They're censoring them and shadow banning them. The voice of at least half this country, if not more, in my belief, was being taken down and eroded and shunned and sequestered in so many ways. And that was the scream, the silent scream that was heard to try to have some kind of semblance of the other side or what's left of this culture, the feeling the culture was not being, it was being eroded. It's just a larger issue. So when Donald Trump comes in and he doesn't just go in with marching orders from the libertarians and shut down the Federal Reserve and pull all the troops back overnight, it's first off, that's not his job, is to go in with one kind of extreme view, but it is by the average American's perspective doing that. That's number one. Number two, he needs of the people. Now you're going to say, no, he doesn't. He's commander in chief. Well, you just saw how much he was able to do as commander in chief coming in when you've got every judge. The minute he does any action, the federal judges are all biased because of the years of packing the courts, and they shut down every single thing he does. His cabinet, he tries to get his cabinet in, and they haven't even put his whole cabinet in. Not to mention investigation after investigation, and the deep state Republicans not even supporting him for different reasons. So if you sit there and you say, how come he doesn't go in and just change it the way that I want it, damn it? I can't, it boggles my mind that I guess you could do a better job, right? You're just going to go in and do it. Because if you go against the establishment and the deep state, whether it's economics, military, the media, they all will attack you. This guy having to do it, and he's slowly unraveling it. And the first way he did it was taking the 2 years, like Muhammad Ali, as I've said over and over, with the rope-a-dope. He got in there, and the entire establishment open barraged on this guy. All right, now you guys like, well, how come he hasn't saved the spotted owl, like my liberal friends will say? I don't get, you guys don't see this. He has been pummeled, and now he's about to unleash the other side.
Okay, the other side. He's unleashing. He's going 2020. He's running up against the Green New Deal, and he's going to promise me what? Chickens in a pot? I mean, what am I getting? What's my promise? Hell, what is he not even promising he's going to give me later? What am I getting? The debt is getting more. It's going to explode. The economy. He's wrapped his arms and legs around this economy, and when it goes, now what? What's going to happen?
Well, look. So you keep mentioning about the economy. So tell me what his options are. Okay, first goes in and just banishes the Federal Reserve. Let's just see how long that's going to last for whatever reason. I mean, between the media and all of the bankers in the deep state, Republicans as well, that's not going to last. Then if he turns around and says, okay, well, I'm not going to take credit for this economy, and I don't think I can help this economy. Then, of course, they're going to say he's not competent. Then if he turns around, if the economy is good,
who's going to say? Who's he playing to?
So he take
the 3 million people watching, cable. I mean, who's he talking to?
Well, he's talking to the American people. I mean, that's ultimately what he's doing. I mean, God knows the ratings, the Trump bump on every single show. He definitely has the audience, to the chagrin of the mainstream media, who keep trying to shut him down, and people like you too, I may add. But he's trying to talk to the American people, and that's why they hate the tweets. You know this, Ernie. I mean, it's about access. It's about communication. And the thing is, there has never been a direct way for an average, we call Donald Trump average, let's just say someone outside of the deep state, in order to communicate and lead. There's been no way to do that. They would shut you off at the base, at the core, at the media. And that is why the RNC, came out after Mitt Romney's loss and gave that report, if maybe James remembers as well with this. And they came out and they said, you Republicans, we're going to keep losing and get worse and worse than McCain and Romney unless we change and become more like them, because we can't beat them at their own game. We can't overcome the media. And basically we're going to have to be a liberal light. And that was sort of that bitter pill they expected the base to swallow. And the result was Donald Trump again. Anyway, I'm getting off topic with this, but if we were talking about the economy, we can talk about why Donald Trump is just doing a Ron Paul on his first day. There's probably a number of reasons behind that. If nothing else, in order to enact what he's trying to do, he has to keep the economy going.
Okay. What is he trying to do? What am I waiting on?
Ultimately, I know it sounds cliche, I guess, if I keep saying this, is to make sure the American people have a voice, that they have a communication way, and they're still running this government. Whatever the decision might be, whether we ban the Federal Reserve, whether we double down on the Federal Reserve, whether we save the spotted owl or we decide to nuke the spotted owl. I don't care what the decision is. The decision, though, should be by, and I know you guys don't like to vote, but if 51% of the American people, solidly and fairly and equitably decide on whatever it is to paint every post office purple, then I'm okay with that in theory. Then it's about educating minds to decide that I don't like purple in every post office.
Okay, well, can we stop right there? That's an interesting point you made. If 51% of people, for instance, voted for nobody, then you would agree that nobody should be president?
Sure.
Okay, well, guess what? Most people didn't vote for president, so we agree.
I'm
glad we finally settled that. It's taken a couple years, so this concludes the Trump report. And
Frankie, do you understand our position, or you just think we're being unreasonable, or is there, something? I mean, what's your frustration with our position with all this evidence?
Position? What evidence? What are you referring to? I'm gonna make sure
it's not working. I run for Secretary of State and county voting. The politics. They're not representing, what I desire or what I want, or I think the majority of people. The only thing that does that is the market. I mean, that does it really well, and they take that out. I got all these tech giants and all this surveillance grid and all this, and they're screaming. Here I got Zuckerberg, we need more government regulation, more government, control of the government. And I'm going, nah, that's another good reason for not, having the government involved. Hell, we can just not have the government. I'm wondering how much, they always say, Ernie, what are you, an anarchist? Compared to what? This? More debt and deficit, more war, more military spending, more. And I'm going, this is not work. What is the turn for you? Where is the hook and direction? When's the U-turn that, Trump comes in and he says, okay, we accomplished this. What is it? Is it the wall? Is it reduced in entitlements? Is it, what is it? What's the win?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I think the win will be when there's, I guess, it's not like rebalancing of the force. I think that this culture has been, it's been divided and concentrating in its multiple bubbles for so many years. I think people just feel like there needs. I know you're asking for more of a technical thing, and maybe I could say when we change the Senate rules, maybe to get away from a nuclear option. I mean, I don't want to be too technical, and you're going to jump on whatever I'm saying there. The bottom line to me is to make sure that the people have representation and not a deep state. And the first part of this is for people to understand how the system works. I mean, how many people still think, that voting in a primary is an actual vote? They don't understand how the vote begins at the local. The voting begins, your real choice begins, whether it's wallet voting, whether it's at the primary level. It's not pulling a switch towards the end when MTV Rock the Vote comes out. There's so many, we've been so disconnected from the system. Most Americans don't know how the Constitution works. They've never read it. They don't listen to another side or point of view. And the worst part is our culture, and I keep going back to this, has been segmented in so many ways. It's because we are so independent and free thinking, but then we have the internet, which has allowed everyone to disconnect and from each other as far as interests and with even current events. I mean, even you, I, and James probably all listen to different news sources, and yet we all probably agree on many more things than we disagree, and yet we probably are all having our own slightly massaged versions of reality from what we happen to see, and we all pretty much agree. And you've got the rest of this country can't even agree on a news cycle. They can't even agree.
See, I don't need them to agree. I'm not looking for agreement. I'm looking for the right to persuade and bitch and comment and say free speech.
No.
You got to agree with me.
Ernie, I know this is a slippery slope with you on this point. When I mean by agree, I don't mean lockstep and everyone's got a gun to their head. There's an agreement and a level that comes with culture. We chatted last week with the gentleman and his fiancée from China. And now, James, I don't know if you do hear the show or not, but I lived overseas for quite a while.
Cudahy that did the Narcozona event.
Yeah. So I went to college in Japan. I lived in a Buddhist monastery in Japan for a long time. I was in China. I mean, I've been around. I'm not someone who's an isolationist because I haven't left Surprise, Arizona, and I just want to keep everyone, white again. That is not. It's not out of fear. It's about the fact I have traveled so much and have seen America from outside, and most of my friends being foreigners and how they see America. And I see America differently. And one of the things I learned from Asia, and for those of you that are regular listeners, I apologize, some of you have heard this already, but in Asia, they're I hate to call them the Borg, but they're very similar in their culture. They pride on being a similar culture. And why this is important is because when they make decisions, there's not that much disunity. It doesn't mean that they're all brainwashed. It's just the fact that it's like a family. Your family unit probably can make decisions on what you want to eat, what you want to watch on TV, much easier than if you opened the doors in your house and you had 50 strangers walk in with completely different languages and food choices and the rest. It's hard to keep a family going when everyone has such radical different views. And that's what's happening in America. I have nothing wrong with individuality. I'm no way saying we have to be postage stamps. But we have gotten so far removed from a unified culture as it's doubling down with the internet allowing everyone to just
listen to the live broadcast on DLive, Twitch, YouTube. Just go to freedomsphoenix.com, top left stream. Boom.
Don't you hate that?
Because we're not done. All right. So
hey, sorry about that. I didn't know the music was
I kept it down.
So anyway,
see, this is my thing. This is what I hear, and I want to get James to comment after I give my comment here.
All right.
Is when you talk about culture, I remember there was a from the Arizona Republic when I was running for Congress one time, and the issue was there was some people running for Congress. When Arizona has an expansion in their census or whatever, they go, oh yeah, we got another congressional seat coming up, and you lose them in this state and gain them in Arizona. I remember when I first moved here, I think we had 4, now we got like 10 or something. I don't know. It just keeps going up. So whenever you have the census, there's more people in Arizona, you get another congressional seat that doesn't have an incumbent. So they get, man, they're coming carpetbaggers from all over the planet. They're going to come in and get some, and that's how I know about Doug Weed. Doug Weed in 92, 4, around in there, he came here to get the congressional seat if he wants to be somebody. So this whole thing is that because somebody was coming from out of state, the newspaper asked this question: where do you find home? What do you consider home? When you say home, where is that? Because what they wanting to get, home's there. It's where I am. God, woohoo! It's my new home. I chose you, and you're so lucky because I love you so much. I came here. Let me be your congressman. And my answer to it, I'm going, wow, I don't know, wherever my family and freedom is. That's where my home is. And of course, they didn't like that. They don't want to, because I look at it, the culture for me is, where is freedom supported? Which state is freedom? Which country is freedom supported? Oh, it's none? Fine, I'm on my pirate ship. I vote with my legs. I vote with, my money. I vote with my time and effort and signs. James Babb, he votes with paid ads on Facebook, going to a targeted voter database that's the fully informed jury information they get for juror pool on the county of whatever the hell, and he does this around the country. Don't say that James Babb doesn't vote. He votes a shitload, but he puts his money in it and he targets it. Derek helps him write, the code and do different things and advertising and whatever. So James gets his voice out there. I get my voice out there. I don't think voting is it. Because the culture, what they're looking for is 51% is going to rule. We're going to kick ass on this. We vote this guy. We don't like that guy on something. And I'm going, all right, if you gave me a real platform, a real choice, and all I get is we're not them, we're not as bad as them, or I want this one issue, or I got that, I'm going, where's the freedom guy? Where is that? Or gal, I don't care. I want the leave me aloneism. You respect my individual rights. If not, screw you. I don't care. And every opportunity I get, you got to keep the interest rates low. We're going to keep the Federal Reserve. We're going to increase spending. We're going to give the Pentagon more than what they even asked for. We're going to bribe these guys with this and that. We're going to have a war with this and threatening that, and China and Russia and we're going to take your guns or do bump stocks or something. I mean, I'm going, all right, what am I waiting for? Well, it's this culture thing. Culture of what? I'm looking for the culture of freedom. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I was promised. That's what I'm not getting, and that's what I keep hearing excuses for. And I'm tired of it. It's been, you're going into the next term of him, and how much more has he exploded the budget? I'm going, when does that happen? All right, James. James, you go on it.
You go ahead, James.
Go, James. Go.
Well, I guess, Frank says we're nitpicking, right? Like, he hasn't done everything for you.
I didn't say that,
happy,
James.
right?
I didn't say nitpicking.
Well, you're like, why is it, you got your pet issue, like he didn't do your thing and he can't do everything. Jesus, how about one thing?
Yeah, God.
Give me one thing. Like maybe, hey, you want to convince me that he's an opponent of the deep state? Well, gee, why did he just ask for more money for them? That's not what an opponent does. No, sorry, not buying it. Is that representation to say, well, we're getting represented and
it's
everybody wants
chess.
the NSA budget increased and yep, you're represented? Bullshit. That's not represented. That's representing the people in power. And where does he not represent the people in power?
I've been patient, Frank. I've been waiting. I'm going, okay, well, at least he pisses off the right people. At least we see that there is this, freaking battle between deep staters of this guy and that guy. And then QAnon, yeah, it's the, the white hats at the NSA of the military intelligence, and we're for freedom and Trump. And I'm going, what? I don't feel any better with that either. So I'm just, and then the lawsuit.
Ernie, why are you spending so much time trying to, I apologize, I forget. Was it the Interplanetary Network? Is that what is it called? IP?
Interplanetary file sharing.
File share, yeah. I mean, and by the way, for those new listeners, definitely check it out. I'm really proud of you doing that, and it's been a long time coming for someone, and you've been doing great. Blah blah blah, smoke up your butt, but which you deserve. But like, why are you spending so much time on that? I mean, why is this so important It's important because the damn system is about to take away the stream of communication from Americans. The idea of the First Amendment is basically being ripped to shreds to the point that you have an ongoing battle.
No, Trump's going to run in front and defend me. Trump's going to veto whatever legislation. Trump's going to save me, right?
Ernie, you take for granted so much that you're able to do with what you do. You say, well, I get wallet voting, and I'm just going to say, turn my back on them. And I say, you know what, Ernie, why don't you take your show, pack up, and I've said this to you before, and open up Freedom's Phoenix in Afghanistan. Just take Freedom, take your whole little studio, and go there and open it up and see how long it lasts.
I don't need to go there.
The reason that
I'm already there.
No. I mean, no. You go physically there and do it, and you can sit back and say, "Well, I got wallet voting, and I'm gonna sit there and I got my file sharing." Try doing that and see how long.
Oh my God, is that your argument? We're not as bad as Somalia? Is that your point?
No. My argument is that what is keeping that from happening is not just the Second Amendment, which of course is a large part of this, but the concept of freedom that Americans still share, that's in our DNA, that you take for granted. And that is the part that's being eroded. You see, when you have so many different people coming here from other countries so quickly, and they're not assimilating, and not to mention America has not assimilated itself. We're in a cultural civil war.
I don't want to assimilate. I don't want to assimilate.
Yeah, James, you need to assimilate.
No, we're in
resistance is futile.
It's like if you have a couple, like I said, going through a divorce. I mean, do you really want to start having the visitors, having the neighbors over to come hang out with you? No, it's not a time to be having outside visitors when the two people who are running that household can't agree on anything. You need to have
these people running my household.
And
they're not invited either.
What's that?
I don't want people in here running my household. No thanks. I don't need to hear people fighting over who's going to run my household. No thanks. Opt out, pass.
Yeah, it's a different mindset. I'm trying to, I'm wondering where. I know Frank understands, what we're talking about. I know Frank's supportive of, our common goals, and we're good friends. But I definitely want, Dr. Frank as my doctor. I want Dr. Frank as my friend. I want Dr. Frank to probably be a better congressman. But I'm not going to advocate there be a Congress just so I can vote for Frank. I mean, I don't want Frank ruling me either. So I'm wondering where this comes from. There's a foundational, fundamental thing to where you have a nostalgic allegiance to something. Is it American what? Is it the Constitution? Is it, some movie you saw? Is it Trump himself? Is it the process of I mean, what is your allegiance to here in America, Frank?
Well, I appreciate the question. I mean, look, the allegiance is to the American culture, and I'm proud of it. And what
the hell is that?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I don't even know what you're talking about.
I don't even know what that is.
Wait. So, James, I'm not trying to do a gotcha with you, but I mean, have you lived overseas a long period of time anywhere? I mean, have you?
No.
Okay. No, I haven't.
And that's fair. Look, I have said, and I've said on the show, if I could be a Democrat, or maybe I would say establishment Republican or Republican for a day, and I decide to make a law and force everybody to do something, which they like to do, there's only one thing maybe I would do if I'm going to be king for a day. And that is, that every American, by the time they turn 20 or whatever age, 21, is that they have mandatorily, I know that's hard on this station, learn a second language, and also have lived overseas at least a year. And I don't mean England to be hanging out at the Hard Rock Cafe all day like some people do. I mean, actually live in another country. As I say, if we've been exporting our culture, exporting our debt, exporting our military, and doing everything around the world, and yet we're the most ignorant people about other cultures. We don't know languages. We can't think in different ways.
A lot of we's and r's going
the world
on
is this
that
way.
I don't know if I can really accept. A lot of collectivism. There's so much collectivism wrapped into these statements that it's really hard to untangle what you're saying.
You gotta.
No, I know. I understand. Probably, I understand where you're coming from with this, because I'm battling Ernie all the time on this, and I get it. I know how you guys will see this quickly. I'm looking at more just a larger issue by being overseas.
Let me make this observation. It's the same thing that you're talking about, cable news, whatever. When I'm overseas, pick a country. I'm in some European country or something. What's my experience with the American culture? It's whatever bullshit CNN International has. It's National Geographic Doomsday Preppers, and it's the actual people that have the resources to buy an airline ticket or a ship ticket to come over on vacation for 2 weeks. And I'm going, maybe it's an exchange student. Maybe I got some businessmen that's there doing. Maybe it's not the rank and file of the people here. They're not getting a true view of it. And a lot of people that come over, I interview a lot of them in studio. A lot of people doing media things, making movies, coming over the years. They come and they go, wow, the American people aren't anything like what we're told, taught, or even the people we meet over in Europe. When we come here, you find out that there are a lot to say. They just want to be left alone, do their own thing, and we got a lot more in common than you think. It's this culture that you're talking about, their perspective of us. The only other side they get of our culture is the poor, urban kid that joined the army is blowing up their freaking house and shooting their dog and shooting their daughter and raping their mother and doing. I'm going, God, man, which culture are you talking about? So I'm just
okay. One of the things we have these foreign students that you encounter. I mean, what do they all have in common? No matter what country they come from, they're all impressed with shooting guns. That just blows their mind. And I know you love that. You revel in that one. But also, they're also impressed about the freedoms that we have. And I asked them privately when I had that meeting at they invited me to speak there off the air. And I asked them, what's most surprising for you being here? Because I wondered if it changed since I was overseas. And
your cars are so big.
and they all had pointed out about the freedoms, and it was very revealing because we feel that we don't have these freedoms. We feel them eroded away, and I believe that they are. But the thing is, the rest of the world still does not understand the freedoms that we have here. They see it as something that they're not immersed in. We take these things for granted, which is why we're having these arguments. I mean, just the other day on CNN, they asked the CNN international lady, what's her name, Christine Anapur, I think her name is, and she was asking James Comey just a few days ago about whether or not the government should have allowed protesters or people attending Trump rallies to say lock her up about Hillary Clinton. I mean, she actually asked him about why these people were not arrested and why it should be illegal to even be saying that. And he had Comey, of all people, defending the First Amendment. I couldn't believe it. But I mean, this is at least in theory, right?
Oh, but God, that was a stage thing. They probably give him feather in his cap for doing the
I'm sure. I know it's all. Look, I know it's a racket. I'm just pointing out that it's something that we take for granted, a concept that foreigners do not share. They don't experience to it. And that is why, in my opinion, it becomes a danger when you have so many people come here so quick and not being assimilated by either coming here illegally or having a culture that is not unified anymore. And I know that word unify is a trigger for you guys.
God, unified culture?
Collectivism.
Seriously, this is like, I mean, it's exactly the kind of words that have come from the worst tyrants in history to justify the worst atrocities. I mean, really? Really? We need a unified culture for 300 million people? That's insane. That's just absurd to even go down that road of thought.
Well, first of all, the call is don't infer I'm a tyrant. I mean, and I don't get offended.
No, I'm just pointing out that this is a mentality that came from.
No, I understand, and the point I understand, and I know you, Frank, and I know you'd be a good guy, but I think, yeah, what James is saying is the one thing that I'm observing is as you get immersed in the left, right, and back and forth, and ouch, quit it, and the YouTubes and the Facebooks or the memes of the yada 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 yada, you start to adopt their language, and you think you're in opposition because you're on the other side of the more collectivist or something, or our country is more free than this country, or it's got, and you're missing the point, in my opinion, is that there is an individual, voluntarist, leave me alone-ist promise that the Declaration of Independence and Bill of Rights and even a little bit of the Constitution promised us, and it's not. And all I get, the best I can get, well, if we get our minds right collectively, we'll get back to this collective document. It'll be a better collective. And I'm going, that is, they got you talking their talk. They got you inside their envelope.
You think so. All right, all right. Well, you know, I think and look, this is a good discussion. I didn't expect this discussion this morning, but that's
No,
fine.
this is an important one. I think it's important.
No, well, it's fine. I just, you know, I was prepared for a whole different type of topic, and then we're talking. This is fine. And I'm nice to have to talk to James. I know he's a real fan of the show, at least when I am on.
I'm a fan of James.
I know not. But look, it's kind of like with religion in a sense, which we don't like to bring up. It's kind of, this issue. Talking with you guys a little bit with this, and again, not to be snobby about it, but it's like you've got people arguing about who has the proper word of the Bible, and you got the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mormons and and the Baptists, and everyone's arguing about what line in the Bible and how this one trumps this one, no pun intended. And yet, if you're a Buddhist, or from an alien country coming down, from Mars or what have you, the planet. I mean, to them, from a Buddhist perspective, it's all the same thing. It's like apples and oranges, and yet people are arguing about things that are much more similar. And Democrat, Republican, however, what you don't realize is deep in our soul, just the fact that we tolerate, let's tolerate firearms. The fact that liberals so far have not taken the streets and basically come with taken over the deep state and taken all of our guns, like happened in after Katrina, which that day's coming. I mean, the fact that we are even able to still have some semblance of a government that's on its last legs, I think, of civility.
I'm getting
but
ready.
The foundation is still there. Americans still are unified in a culture that is there. And it's just hard to talk about sometimes if you're in the bubble
define
of
this
culture
that you're talking about. What
is.
do you mean by this culture? A reverence for individual rights, for leave me alone. I mean, you talk about, because I can have a very diverse gathering. In fact, okay, I'll give you a perfect example. The most diverse gatherings I ever saw in anything political going was the Ron Paul LEvolution. These were old, young, rainbow hair, black, gay, whatever. There was no typical, person other than, there weren't as many, there were plenty of minorities, but I mean, of course you just have, a lot white people, but, that was never an issue. Race wasn't an issue. Sexual preference wasn't an issue. Nationality wasn't an issue. Whether you voted or not wasn't an issue. I mean, these were not issues. And I'm looking at, that is the culture that I'm looking for, is that we're here for the same reason. We want to be left alone. We want to support freedom. We want to be able to do what we want with our money. We don't want a gun to our face, taking it, or just, highwaymen to get, tickets, so I got to pay them. But I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. And racism and bigotry and all this other stuff, was not an issue inside the LEvolution, because you're right. The American culture towards the respect of individual rights and so on demonstrated itself and demonstrated how popular it was and brought a lot of people together. And when they used technology to start finding each other and meetups, and they're doing and found other interests, and now you got, LEvolution hackers and LEvolution broadcasters and LEvolution. I mean, we infiltrated everything. It was just like the internet, when it got infiltrated back in the 90s, with the internet. And I'm going, okay, this is the culture you're talking about. Yeah, it's there, but it's not supported by politics. It's not supported by any politician, even a libertarian one. It is not supported by anybody else.
International characteristics, not distinctively American.
Yep. So, I mean,
I would disagree, because Ernie, what is the number one of all things that when we ask foreigners every time, what is the one thing that gets their attention more than anything? Shooting guns, right? Because you're the first one to bring that up. And why is shooting a firearm so impressive, whether they're from Japan, Nepal, it could be, whatever
it
country
represents
to, people,
to them where the real power ultimately flows from, the barrel of a gun.
Exactly.
And we have...
And it's the people, and ultimately it represents that the government is still, maybe by a thread, answers to the people. The fact that the government has not taken those guns away means at the end of the day, the government is still technically fearful of the people. And that is something that other countries can't even understand. They can't wrap their head around that. It's something we take for granted.
No,
here.
they don't want to. They don't want to take the guns. They just want a list of everybody that has them. You know?
No, exactly. But exactly, that's what they're trying to do. And how do you do it? You do the very thing. You double down on what you guys think is such a strength, which it is a strength. This is why this is such a delicious argument. The strength for us as Americans is independence and being our own, which I know, James, you don't know me well enough to think, I'm a collectivist. I'm not. But the fact is that in order to the old saying, divide and conquer, they were dividing us culturally to conquer. They're pitting everyone against each other through lies of media and this and that and whatever, whether it's CNN, whether it's no one's watching CNN, whether it's through YouTube search algorithms. We can go all day, but they are doing everything possible to control this narrative. So therefore, they can pit people against each other, put up whatever fake news or issues that happen to be there, divide us. So we're arguing about the spotted owl.
So why would you want to play along with that?
X, Y, Z. If we're divided, then it's easier to switch the rules, be able to put in the justices in which they want with the nuclear option, which to me is the biggest deal that keeps getting is not being looked at. The Second Amendment, which is under attack. I mean, all of these components, that's how they divide us as we're busy fighting each other. It's the ultimate psyop. And that is what they're trying to stop. So I think ultimately it's the Second Amendment, but everything that undermines the Second Amendment, understanding what the Second Amendment even is. The average American, who especially graduates from our public schools, doesn't even know what they haven't read the Constitution. They don't know what the 10th Amendment is. They don't know what the 4th Amendment is. And if you ask them, they say, why should I know? Because A, it was written by white slave owners who had white privilege. And B, it's a living document. The Supreme Court said so. So it doesn't matter what it says. We can just change it whatever we want. So it's like trying to play poker with somebody that doesn't even understand the ruls. And they change the rules.
Wait a minute. So speaking of understanding the rules, I mean, it sounds like you think the freedom of self-defense is important as recognized by the Second Amendment, and this is part of that inherent American culture that you think separates these 330 million people from those from Mexicans. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, it's part of it. It's the recognition of the Second Amendment, the fact that we even have it. It's in our consciousness.
Okay, well let's just if that is so important, I guess I fail to understand the just acceptance when you have a ruler in Washington who, through the stroke of his pen, has created thousands and thousands of felons for owning a firearm accessory, right? Like, so it's hard for me to really take that position seriously if we're going to look the other way every single time. Oh, no, take the guns first, due process second. Oh, okay. Well, you know what? We're just going to ignore that because you know what? We're represented for liking our guns. No, we're not. That's just proof right there. That's not representation. That's just populism. Populism, you know what? It's popular to be against guns, so guess who's against guns? Oh, it'll be popular to be for guns. Guess who will be for guns? Nobody freaking cares. They don't care. They're just like, what do we have to say for you guys to clap? Okay, then we're going to say it.
All right. Well, I think maybe what we have is a difference of opinion clearly on what the direction the country should be. And there's two options, okay? One option is that we have an ideologue take over, a far leftist, a alt-righter, or a diehard libertarian.
Let's have a diehard libertarian take over.
Our view is, and we're going to double down, we're going to change everything to meet what this group is. Now, the problem we have, and maybe you don't know this, is that we don't have agreement of even 70, 80%, let alone 50%. Like you said, how many people voted for nobody, according to you, right? Which I get that. We can't even agree on who should be leading.
No,
so
I'm sorry, but
I guess what we have
most of us agreed that nobody should be ruling us. You just happen to have been one of those minority that picked the ruler.
And that's a whole nother thing. There's a bloody bat with barbed wire in Ernie's room there that kind of mentions my point. That's kind of another issue. But I'm just talking about that. Yeah.
Lucio.
It's the fact the one option is that we have one group that is a minority group, because every group will be minority, whether it's especially the libertarians or Republicans or Democrats or whomever.
White people.
They're under 50%. So what you have is a minority group that marches in and says, we're going to pull all the troops out. We're going to get rid of the Federal Reserve. We're going to bump. Okay, now in order to do that right off the bat, that is authoritarian in itself, because how could a minority group force every one of your views at once the way that you want? That is one way, is an ideologue.
Oh, I am looking
for
that's
one option.
The
other option is, and this is where Donald Trump's, I think, coming from, is you're calling him a populist, and I don't want to debate that term per se. I might argue and maybe throw another term, which would be a pragmatist. He's the pragmatist in chief. He's not in there to say, here are my list of specific things because I see this country, at this position in 4 years. He's, like I said, more of a counselor coming in, trying to build a coalition of unity, not about policy as much as just the culture. But the thing is, the people don't know themselves how they've been pitted against each other in so many levels, from the media and the deep state and other areas. That's why I'm looking at this as a larger issue. We have to have some kind of unity of culture, and then we can agree we want to keep our liberties and freedoms.
Okay, why do we have to have a unity of culture? And if you're going to have one, around what? And who gets to decide?
The people.
Okay, well, I thought they did. It may be a promise. We have living under a democratic constitutional republic. I mean, we get to vote for the republic part that's down by the chains of the Constitution part, so I'm going, when does that happen? And I'm wondering when somebody, for Donald Trump to run and win on this wall thing, which he keeps trying to, whatever the hell he's going to do, and shut down the whatever, don't care. For him to run and win on that, I'm going, okay, I guess they voted for that. You got to do it. Ann Coulter's out there screaming he ain't doing it fast enough, and I go, who's going to fight for my rights? Well, he started saying things about, this vaccination thing. We're not, government forcing it. I hadn't really done anything about that. Kept promising stuff, and nothing's really getting done that I see. Then he's going, Second Amendment. And here comes the bump stock thing. We're going to do, nothing he said that he promised going to do has he done. And and then he's spending $1 gazillion, on everything and on this big bloated budget.
That's how government works. That's how it always works. I'm
telling you, Frank, we get into the 2020 cycle, the argument that he's not as bad. Well, who'd you want, Hillary or AOC to be president? I'm like,
that's not my argument, Ernie.
I'm not in this fight. I don't care.
That's never been my argument. No, it's for the people. Look. I'll give you just one basic example. So as far as just having the people have access, right? We were told by, of course, the truthful media, right, that Donald Trump, and I'm not to make this too much about the media right now. That there's no way Trump is going to run. Then he's not going to win the primary. Then he's not going to win the election. And then he has 98% chance of losing. So stay home on election night.
Oprah Winfrey's going to beat him up.
Then the economy is going to tank the next day if he's in. Then he's going to push the red button on North Korea and nuke us all. Everything. His phones were not tapped at Trump. We go all day about what the so-called trustful media had talked about. But the thing is, with all of this, they also said that the minute he got in, he was going to ban and throw out everyone in the White House press corps, right? That was their scare tactic number 25. And that's what they said. Now, he's not banned anybody, and except for, what's his name, Jim Acosta, for grabbing the microphone for a couple of days. But he hasn't banned anybody, which frustrates them. They said he was going to throw out Mueller. He was going to fire Rosenstein. They kept trying to create this issue that he was defensive and afraid, and he hasn't. He didn't fire anybody. He let the process unravel. He didn't kick anyone out from the press room. To my frustration, because I would say kick out CNN and put in Alex Jones, for God's sake, or put in Ernie Hancock. But he's allowed it to rest, to show that he's not this very caricature that they've painted him as. And yet on the right, I don't know one Republican or libertarian, of course no libertarian, that says that we should ban CNN, we should ban anybody. How to ban anybody? You talk to liberals, and if you talk to them publicly or